John Lee Hooker told the Detroit Metro Times in 1989, he said, "My songs are like poetry. Some are pretty heavy, so heavy I can hardly carry them. Sometimes on stage, when I'm singing them, it gets so sad and deep and beautiful, I have to wear dark glasses to keep the people from seeing me crying. I'm not kidding. The tears just start running with the words that I'm saying and the way that I sing. Sometimes I give my own self the blues."
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, is that Cook? Legendary John Sinclair. Wow.
Yep.
Thank
Now,
Terry. Thank you.
Of course, if you wonder what we're talking about on the replay, as usual, just like our previous episode, got copyright claimed, it's going to be stripped out. So you'll have to go to Locals or Rumble. Everything will be there. I pulled the public TV one, hoping that it's public. Be generous. Share.
Yeah.
We're part of the public. We're good people. So, Mark, I'm getting... I'm sad. It's another memorial.
No, I mean, he was John was 82. I mean, he had an incredible life. I mean, he is one of the original, and whether you take this any way you want, but I mean, this guy came out of Detroit with Wayne Kramer in the MC5. He was the manager of the MC5. Back in the day, the first punk rock band to ever play would kick out the jams, and Tyner, Mick Tyner is the lead vocalist. But this is this is later on. He was targeted. They had formed a group called the White Panther Party, and they actually took target practice. John was a big Second Amendment guy, even though he was a Maoist. I mean, he was far to the left of my politics, but
Mao liked guns.
Mao loved guns, and so did John, and so did Wayne. And having them both pass away, they were so close together. There were times when the three of us were together, which was rare. But John and Wayne, he was the manager of the band. He was a horn player himself, Sinclair, but he was also known for starting alternative. There's a picture of John and I at a party in Hollywood, I think around 1997. I don't know where that came from, but
I like the cash there.
We're doing something with cash. I don't really know what we were doing. It's probably illegal. John was one of the biggest advocates in the United States for the reform of marijuana laws and the legalization of marijuana. Whether you accept that or not is up to you, but that was one of his political things. He was arrested for having 2 joints by undercover agents in Michigan and sentenced to 20 years in prison, 20 to life for 2 joints. And this is a documentary on John's life called 20 to Life. And he was a political leader of this movement, and he was targeted by the FBI. He was targeted by Michigan police, and the 2 joints that were on him, the judge sentenced him to. Just so you have to know why there is a reform of marijuana laws is because of John Sinclair and this 20 to life sentence. John Lennon himself will come to the aid of John Sinclair, writing a song called John Sinclair and creating the 2 for 10 or 2 for 20 tour that John Lennon led with, I think, Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels and a bunch of other artists to get John out of jail. 2 days after the rally appeared in Detroit, he was freed from prison. That's how important John Lennon was as a media figure.
Didn't he take a shot to the head, or was that Abby Hoffman who took a shot to the head from the Who over John Sinclair? Or am I getting the wrong?
No, you don't have it wrong, because if you look at that photo I sent you of the autograph of his book that he gave me, there's a reference to that in the signage page that he wrote to me in 1997. John Sinclair was in prison when Abbie Hoffman took the stage. This was written by John to me in his book Guitar Army, which is John's equivalent of Woodstock Nation. He was the Midwestern Abbie Hoffman in a smaller way, obviously. But when Abbie Hoffman took the stage, when the Who was performing at Woodstock, he grabbed the microphone and screamed into the microphone, "This is a pile of shit," while John Sinclair rots in prison. Meaning that how could we be partying and having this entire event while this guy's a political prisoner? And of course, Pete Townsend famously hit him in the neck with a guitar, hit him in the neck with a guitar, and he was knocked off the stage or jumped off the stage. Pete Townsend later would wear a John Sinclair t-shirt in concerts, not realizing at the time what Abbie was talking about. And to make up for it, because obviously he was British, he didn't really know this stuff. He jumped off the stage and he went into Monticello, where he made believe he was a Dr. Abbie Hoffman and tried to help people who were having bad acid trips. But that's in the Abbie Hoffman episode. You can look at the John Sinclair episode for stories about John Sinclair. But he started the first underground newspapers in Ann Arbor. He was involved in marijuana reform. He became this performance poet where he invented this spoken word style of poetry with a band in back of him. And I learned it from him. And there was about 3 of us who were doing this nationally. It was Mick Farron, who was British, and people who know who Mick Farron is, one of the most prolific writers in the United States. He was British. He had a band called the Pink Fairies, for people who know. There's a picture of me with my band performing in Hollywood circa, I want to say around 2000 or 1999, with the Blues Pros, which was my band. John had a band called the Blues Scholars. John would later get a radio show in New Orleans. He was an ethnomusicologist. He knew every single thing about the blues, about music, about folk music. I mean, the guy should have had a degree as a professor in music, but he had radio shows for years down in New Orleans, where he moved. He would later move to Amsterdam, where because of the marijuana laws, he became the judge in the annual High Times Cannabis Cup, judging the greatest marijuana in the world, which I thought was the perfect job for John Sinclair. I would see him there in Amsterdam when I went over there. He told me this great story when he was coming back to the United States. One time he got to the airport in Amsterdam, and there were police, I think Dutch police with machine guns and German shepherds, and it looked very intimidating. And they took his luggage apart, and there was a Bible on the conveyor belt, and they started barking at the Bible, which looked very awkward. And he had rolled joints using the rolling paper of the Bible in the hotel room. And that's what the drug sniffing dogs were barking at. So they let him go. But I mean, probably the only guy I've ever gone to baseball games. John was an incredible baseball fan, worshiped the Detroit Tigers, obviously. He's probably the only guy that maybe there's a handful of guys that I went to baseball games in Yankee Stadium and Dodger Stadium. When I lived in New York, he would stay on my couch. When I lived here, he would come here. We went shopping one time to buy sneakers, which is a hilarious story. But we were in the left field stands in Yankee Stadium, and also at Dodger Stadium here. A huge baseball fan, incredibly patriotic American. Unfortunately, a Maoist, but nevertheless, it's a revolution that failed. But now it's back. So who knows? Maybe his time has come and he's not going to be around. But you know, I mean, this is a guy that was embraced by a lot of people and was super well known in this counterculture community, and that's why I wanted to give him a shout out. If you don't know who he is, I don't blame you. I mean, it's kind of an obscure figure in terms of modern day history, but him and Wayne, I'll just close it with this. Him and Wayne were the only band to show up at the 1968 Democratic Convention in Chicago. All these bands said they were going to show up, and at the end, they all punked out, except for the MC5 and Wayne Kramer and John Sinclair. And Wayne brought the famous hallucinogenic honey to pass around, and that's another story for another day. But the MC5 was the only band to actually play at the Riot at the Chicago Convention in 1968. And John was forever linked to that band.
Do you know if he happened to see the episode we did or no?
I don't know. That's a good question. I never asked him that. Asked him that. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you can find the episode on the channel. Hopefully I'll remember. I'll put a link to the episode on it, but I know I put a community note on that. So if you go to the tab that says community, it'll take you right to the episode.
Oh, yeah.
We just posted it.
If you want to get a copy, it'll probably go up in price now. It'll probably be some rare thing, but this is kind of his Woodstock Nation. It's got his personal writings and a lot of other art and things of that nature. And there's plenty of CDs out there. I think he produced at least 30 albums of just this spoken word poetry with a band in back of him, which is a unique. That's what you saw. That was at the end of his life because he's sitting down there, and that was recent. So that was
2020. Yeah,
yeah, that was pretty recent. He must have been his legs must have been given out, but he moved back to Detroit at the end of his life. So it kind of went full circle there.
Back home.
Yeah.
Well,
which is the name of this album, Full Circle, with Wayne Kramer.
Makes sense. Well, he's not the only person who is a big believer in the cannabis. I don't know if you saw this one, but we've talked about Bill Maher before. But
this was good. Yeah, good one, Eric.
I just wanted to say something that I watched a piece of your appearance on Bill Maher's show.
Yeah.
And I found the way he spoke to you to be rather insulting. And I don't need you to respond to that. It's more of a comment than a question. But are you a guy who enjoys smoking marijuana or breathing in marijuana?
Marijuana is very good for me, but I don't smoke weed. Every time I've enjoyed it, but man, I haven't done that for God knows mid to late 20s last time, so mid 20s. Yeah.
I bring that up because for me, I'm a clean and sober guy. Like, it's very important that I maintain my sobriety.
How long have you been?
Approaching 16 years.
Get out of here.
Yes.
I knew you had. I didn't know it was 16 years.
I'm about to be sweet
Good
16
for you,
coming
bro.
up on
Congratulations.
it. Thank you very much. And there's nothing, like, really, there's nothing that I value more than my sobriety. There's nothing more that I protect than my recovery. And I found it kind of upsetting when the Bill Maher podcast, which I saw you on, reached out, and they his thing is he smokes pot the whole time while he interviews people, and I said, hey, I'd happily go on there, but could he, while I'm on, out of respect for my sobriety, could he refrain from smoking pot?
Said no.
He said no. That's a deal breaker.
Wow.
And Mike Tyson's podcast is called Hot Boxing. Like the whole point. Like, be real. All of these prolific potheads, I've been on their shows, and it wasn't so important to them to blow marijuana smoke in my face.
I did not know that.
For Bill Maher, it was a deal breaker, and I found, and maybe that's why, whenever
you get the point. I just thought that kudos to Steve-O. I have a lot of respect for him. Living the sobriety and having it so important to him that he's taking a stand, and he seems to really be with it and into it. And shame on Bill Maher on that. Honestly, if you are unable to hang out for an hour or two with that, I mean, that's a problem. It is a real problem.
It's funny. I saw Steve-O early on in his sober career, and it was a Music Cares event. Music Cares is a Grammy record industry event. He got some award or something, and he came out and he did this really fragmented stand-up act. He's not a stand-up comic, but he came out and people just staring at him. There's like industry people downtown LA, and then at the end, he was happy, and he bent over, pulled his pants down, and stuck his ass out and said goodnight. that was the Steve-O performance that I remember at Music Cares.
Well, he kind of was. He came out of Jackass, if I recall. So,
he later climbed a crane over here on Sunset,
right
for animal rights, and put a banner up 9 million feet in the air. The craziest stunt I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I mean that's his thing. Is from my understanding, getting injured or being bit by this or that, or all those stunts. So, yeah, I imagine he probably didn't know necessarily comedy. He just was a punk. I don't know.
Yeah. He didn't have an act. He just went out there. People were going like, "What's the bit here? Is this his act?" And then at the end, he hung a moon on the audience.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
While we're hanging moons on the audience, and folks, you can get merch from this channel.
What?
Down in the description, we have merch, and merch is really helpful for us. That's very famously, Oswald is our probably number one selling piece of merch. People really like Oswald. Wow. Oh yeah, by a long shot. I mean, especially over that silly bear. I mean, so much stronger.
Trusting the bear, which allows me to promote LBJ musical portrait from my LBJ memorabilia collection. Has nothing to do with our merch, but if you can find this, I think you'd really enjoy it.
Well, there you go. But I wanted to let you know, though, we're not the only ones who have merch.
Okay. Who else has merch?
Well, Fonnie Willis.
Oh my God, she's got her own merch.
She has
this chick. This is a chick who doesn't stop giving.
She does not stop giving, and she also has no sense of irony. That's her cup.
Oh my God.
With integrity.
I don't know if these people are true believers, ideologues, grifters, bullshit artists. They believe this. I can't tell anymore what their stance is. Are they just...
It gets worse. She has a freaking Fonnie pack.
Fonnie fanny pack.
Oh my God.
I wouldn't be surprised if she was on OnlyFans at this point, Eric. I mean,
dude, I don't know, but I question it because it broke during Layback Law. Phil Holloway shared it, and I was like, you know what? Hold on. I was like, that would be a perfect way to punk somebody, like a 4chan prank, to set up a product store, donate the money to the campaign,
weird.
Be a third party just to make them look like garbage.
That's weird.
Only problem with my theory is she posted it on her own Facebook.
Oh, there goes that theory, but still completely ironic anyway.
Yes, it's mind-boggling. It's like, what? You are literally going to be doing that? Anyway.
Just want to promote the Ted Brown CD, this old black guy who does songs about LBJ. This is from 2008, Eric. How many hats is a song? A Friend of Mexico is number 3 on it. LBJ Met Lady Bird, Johnson City Blues, Landslide Linden is the 8th track on here, Eric. A Tragic Day, and these are serious. This is a guy who reveres LBJ. These are not comedy albums or anything else. This is a black historical blues artist.
So he's not being ironic.
No. This is why I'm saying this is a collector's item.
God.
The 12th song is The Great Society. Number 10 is A Tragic Day in Dallas. 11 is Greater Than Ever Before. Landslide Linden. I mean, this is an incredible collector's item. Anybody could find this by Ted Brown, an old black folk artist.
Wow.
Kind of like Lou Gossett Jr., who was also, unbeknownst to a lot of people, a folk artist before he became an actor, with a lot of great folk albums that he put out, Lou Gossett. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Google that, bitches. Google that.
No, I believe it.
No,
somebody posted that he was an Olympian. I could not find anything that said that.
I never heard that, but he was a great folk artist. He recorded with a lot of different people.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Something else came up with Layback Law. I actually opened with it because I had to get input from all the lawyers on it. I thought it was a great topic of discussion. Imagine, if you will, you are charged with a crime. You don't have a lot of money, so you have to go to the public defender's office. Well, fortunately, you'll get representation, but you really can't necessarily choose who you get. And maybe this will be your lawyer.
Okay, let me check on that. Yeah.
So we were talking May 6, 8:45?
Yeah.
That works for me.
All right.
Do I need to sign anything?
No.
my comment about my client,
Yeah.
I just met her. She's really nice. She's really smart. She sounds like she's got the right idea about things. I really support what she's up to, and I think it's fabulous. How about that?
God, she's accused of, what is it, criminal trespass.
In the first degree, yes.
Is she innocent or guilty?
She's innocent, of course.
She's innocent, okay. Well, she's caught on video being arrested and protesting and allegedly protesting. So I'm trying to get all sides. So
My client has pled not guilty. My name is Stephanie Mueller. I'm in the directory for the Washington State Bar Association. You can look me up.
Okay, Stephanie, thank you for your time.
This is obviously, people know it's Robert Mueller's daughter. The famous prosecutor went after Trump. A lot of people have lawyers in their family when your father is in the Justice Department. Robert Mueller, it was his son, but he is transgender to Stephanie Mueller, one of the top public defenders in Seattle.
Major litigator. Major litigator. Northwest taking the Northwest by storm, and
this is America's Untold Stories, but the people in Scotland, we have a lot of fans in Scotland, asked me to give a shout out to this story about the threat by the police to arrest J.K. Rowling there under the hate speech law. I just wanted to acknowledge that story for people there. She has dared them to arrest her.
And her, yes, acknowledge her for saying, arrest me, bitches.
The courage that she has in Scotland to fight against these hate speech laws. And they backed off because they don't want the publicity. They want the intimidation secretly. And they don't want the publicity internationally, which is what she was telling them to bring on.
And she did bring it on. The Prime Minister of the UK, of England or UK literally said, "Don't fuck with her. Leave it alone."
Well, they're going to just knock it down to a notch to a non-famous person. They just went too high in their bidding out of the gate.
Well, and that's the part that disappoints me, is that they knew, we can't do that there. So they backed off. So
they backed off. Yeah, so they could do it to some
Count Dankula. They could get another one of those. I mean,
one of those guys with this little dog doing some salute or something.
Yeah, some crazy salute. But anyway, well, I shared that story with you earlier, and I imagine that it could be this 6-foot-tall trans athlete. After their basketball career is done, they could become the public defender.
That's a tough case here. This athlete keeps hurting people by doing that stuff. These girls are getting hurt by her. I don't know where this is going to go. I mean, this thing is
look at that.
Yeah, I know. It's really aggressive. I mean, I think I could win that championship if I was on that team, in terms of strength. I mean, just in terms of strength. I mean, you also got that basketball story out of Louisiana with the coach having them not stand for the national anthem and explaining that they were in the locker room during this March Madness game, which they did lose karmically and mathematically. But wow, what a crazy story that was.
I agree. And the thing about like the trans, some of these folks can be very aggressive. I don't know if you saw like that GameStop interview where the clerk was like, "I'm sorry, sir." And it's like, "Sir."
Oh yeah.
And it was like, whoa. Or your pilot who's in LA who, sat there and threatened to crush Ben Shapiro on the stage. Yeah. So
that's Katie Turik's father.
That's it. Yeah. So something I forgot the
Katie
first
Turek, from MSNBC.
Yes, that is her.
Also, I want to give a shout out to a girl named Amy Harris. Amy Harris was in a halfway house in Palm Beach County recovering from addiction, and she found somebody's fourth step in a journal and read it and quickly realized that this belonged to a former tenant in the halfway house who had moved on. So the fourth step is something you do in AA. It's your inventory, sexual, personal, and all kinds of inventory stuff. So she read this fourth step, and she realized quickly that the journal or fourth step belonged to Ashley Biden, the president's daughter.
Again,
she then attempted to give it to various newspapers, and nobody would take it. And finally, James O'Keefe took it, and she turned it over to James O'Keefe, who did not pay for it, by the way. And it was not authenticated at the time. And as we know, the FBI broke down O'Keefe's door, took all his electronics. And O'Keefe said, "Why are you doing this? This is just somebody's diary. You can't possibly be doing this for the president of the United States. That would be illegal. You'd be his private police force." So they denied this. They're looking to charge her with 4 to 10 months in prison now for stealing the diary and taking it across state lines. This is some obscure thing, moving a diary of the president's daughter across state lines. The 10 months that they want to sentence her to is exactly the time to put her on ice so she would not be available for interviews during the election season. Again, mathematically designed as a prison sentence for this girl who simply found a diary and gave it to James O'Keefe. And this is so she's not contacted to do any interviews. It's really outrageous. It really is outrageous. What the crime is, I have no idea. Nobody does. And they're going to lock her up for 10 months.
Well, I mean, there, everybody can see that. That is a typical attorney general strong arm of the president, buddy. Merrick Garland filling that role.
But I just love the mathematics of the sentencing. How it's not only indicative that this is a strong arming, but to mathematically sentence her to the exact amount of time till the election is something, right out of, either the old Soviet Union or Ecuador or El Salvador in the 1980s. I mean, this is so out there and so obvious and so brazen that it's absolutely shocking. And there's no crime. There's no crime. There's nothing involved. They're making up a crime.
Right. November 6th, she'll be released.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And by the way, it's brazen because it's deliberate. This is a warning to everybody else saying, don't F with me, or
that's a
you'll be put on ice.
Right. You're right.
That's why they do it that way.
But there's not even a crime here. This is crazy. This thing happened a couple of years ago. She finds somebody's fourth step. Who cares? What is it? A legal document or something? It's absurd. And they denied for 2.5, 3 years, denied it had anything to do with Ashley Biden, with Ashley Biden.
Well, see, this is the quandary of it. It's like by charging her, they're acknowledging the authenticity of it. So it's like, which is more important here? They could have been denying that's some crazy junkie who made this up, wrote it herself or whatever, and pushed it off. But now they're authenticating it.
It's got the famous entry in there about her fear of her father getting into the shower with her, how she grew up in holy terror of Joe Biden getting into the shower with her and rubbing soap on her and stuff. I mean, it really is sick what this guy was doing with his daughter. It really is.
There's no question about that. And I don't.
But it's in the diary, is what I'm saying. It's not even a diary. It's in her fourth step, which is like I said, it's a process in Alcoholics Anonymous to explain the things that made you drink, and this is obviously one of them.
Is that also part of? And maybe I'm wrong. I heard something about. I'm just going to say people in treatment because I don't know all the steps and things that they're not supposed to have any relationship when they're trying to get over.
Oh, well, that's a separate issue, but true. Yeah, it's for a year anyway. So you get about a year.
And I thought some of it might be to help resolve these things that could have happened.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Not have any confusion.
Yeah. That's part of it. It's also not making any life-changing events until you get your feet under you. You know what I mean? Until you could get your life together. But this diary story is just really crazy. So I wanted to put a little shout out to her, this poor girl who did nothing except find this diary. If she had any sort of morality, this Ashley Biden would open up her mouth and defend Amy Harris and say, I am opposed to this girl going to prison for finding my journal in this halfway house. If she had any kind of decency, but both of them, if you read some of the diary or the journal, it's her and Hunter Biden fighting over who's going to pay for their next rehab. they're complaining back and forth as to who's going to pay for it. You know, how are we going to get money out of dad for this one?
You know, I have trouble because I see her as a victim, and I'm kind of like, I don't want to have another Bo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there might be, you know, a little bit more to it. So I'm going to go one more story, and we'll leave the LGBTQ XYZ out for a little bit. But the illustrious president did declare last Sunday, which happened to be Easter, you know, why not do it on one of the most sacred of holidays for Christians, Trans Visibility Day, as if we can't see that trans are out there right now. I mean, I don't know if you knew it, folks, but they're invisible. We don't see them in the headlines all the time. We don't see them on the podium. We don't see them everywhere. It's Trans Visibility Day. And well, Libby Evans, I think it's Evans, but she's on Tim Pool quite a bit and works at different publications, post-millennial.
Oh, yeah. This is good.
She gave a nice little
there's a summation.
A rundown of the days that are out there, you know, that our poor LGBTQ people do get a little acknowledgement. So let's go.
California has decided to make August Transgender History Month. This is the latest addition to an annual LGBTQIA calendar that includes National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, Aromantic Spectrum Awareness Week, HIV is Not a Crime Awareness Day, Bisexual Health Awareness Month, National LGBT Health Awareness Week, National Women and Girls HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, National Native HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, International Transgender Day of Visibility, International Asexuality Day, National Youth HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, Day of Silence, National Transgender HIV Testing Day, Non-Binary Parents Day, Lesbian Visibility Day, International Family Equality Day, International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia, National Asian and Pacific Islander HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, Harvey Milk Day, Pansexual and Panromantic Awareness and Visibility Day, LGBTQ Pride Month, LGBTQ Families Day, Pulse Remembrance,
got another minute.
Wow. I'm going to get a drink and come back. This is great.
Legalizing gay marriage, National HIV Testing Day, Stonewall Day, Queer Youth of Faith Day, Non-Binary Awareness Week, International Non-Binary Peoples Day, International Drag Day, Gay Uncles Day, Southern HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, National HIV/AIDS and Aging Awareness Day, Bisexual Plus Awareness Week, Celebrate Bisexuality Day,
combine
National Gay Men's HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, LGBTQ History Month, International Lesbian Day, Coming Out Day, National Latinx HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, National LGBT Center Awareness Day, International Pronouns Day, Glad Spirit Week, Asexual Awareness Week, Intersex Awareness Day, Transgender Parents Day, Transgender Awareness Week, Transgender Day of Remembrance, World AIDS Day, Pansexual Panromantic Pride Day, and HIV Cure Research Day. I don't know, guys. I just don't know if that's enough awareness.
No, it's definitely not. They need more
now
awareness.
Breathe. But finally, they're visible.
Wow.
Jeez.
Also, which is not in her list, is they are talking about Gapril now. Gay April.
The worst portmanteau I've heard in a while.
Right, but I'm saying June is the month that they do based on Stonewall or something. I don't know how it ended up with June, but now they want to make April an additional month of gay partying. Gapril. I just want to say Gapril. I just want to say Gapril.
You just want to kill me.
I just want to say Gapril.
Oh my God. Okay. Yes. Lovely. So let's get back to our normal grift in politics. We have you sent me this, I believe, from Chuck Calesto, and it's more chicanery from Shifty Schiff.
Oh man. It's not even Shifty Schiff. I mean, he's just taking their money. He's not in on it. She's the one giving out the bread to Democratic candidates, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like an NGO. She's the head of it, giving out money to Adam Schiff and other Democratic candidates. And the ironic thing is, in the literature,
no, it's from his campaign. Sorry, paid to her firm.
Adam Schiff's campaign is paying her for what, though?
Well, they're claiming it's hush money to her firm.
What?
From 2022 today, the Schiff campaign has dispersed 89 payments to authentic campaigns, totaling almost $14 million.
So let me see if I understand this. He's running for Senate. He's raising money for the Senate, but he's giving money out to her while he's raising money.
Uh-huh.
And what would be the purpose of that? To shut her up for giving him money?
It's her firm.
Right.
So I don't know what her firm does.
Her firm disperses money to Democratic candidates. And she has given out a lot of money to Democratic candidates, including, from what I understand, Kamala Harris, including Adam Schiff, including a whole group of Democratic candidates. And the ironic part of it is in the literature of what they're doing, it says to stop Donald Trump. That's in the campaign literature of her organization. You couldn't be closer to the source than her father trying to stop Donald Trump.
Quite literally, sure.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if this is a case of Adam Schiff's got excess money or something. Like AOC has no need for money. AOC has like raised more of the money than any of the congressional candidates out there. And as Nancy Pelosi herself said, you could run a glass of water against a Republican in AOC's district, and it's a guaranteed seat. So it could be a way of dispersing this money to other candidates or whatever. I don't know, but
but the point of the matter is this judge has now tightened the gag order on Trump because he went after his daughter. The gag order has now been extended to other areas of Trump's free speech rights. And I believe that this judge is going to be the one to incarcerate Trump. His father was a right-wing military general in Colombia. He comes from a fascist family. This is a judge from Colombia who's now going to decide whether our president should be in jail or not. This is a judge who is from another country, whose family is from another country of fascist background down there, from what I've been told. And he is now going to be the one that they've selected to invoke a violation of the gag order and incarcerate Donald J. Trump. Eventually, I think Trump already violated it intentionally because he wants to bring this to a head. And like I said on numerous shows, the faster he does this, the better, because they want him gagged until November. They want him to cooperate until November and then incarcerate him right before the election. That's their plan. And what I have said, and it looks like that's what Trump is doing, is he's trying to violate the gag order now to get this over with, get it to the Supreme Court, resolve this issue in April or May rather than October and November, which I think is a smart strategy. But I think that they've selected this judge. He's been picked to do this job, and I think that's his job.
You know, I forgot to ask Joe Good Logic earlier, Joe Neerman. Barnes challenged him to file as an attorney because he's practicing in New York to get the gag order released. And I don't know if Joe's going to do it or not. He's like really uncertain whether he wants to do it or not, obviously, because you know what happens to people who go against these nut jobs. But I just saw it in the chat and I'm not sure if
I don't know. But I think that this judge is going to go to the mat. He obviously is not going to recuse himself. That would be preposterous. And there's no system in New York to really deal with this. I mean, the Bar Association, the judges are not honestly recusing themselves any longer. If you looked at MSNBC, you would think the daughter was 7 years old. And he was trying to rape or abuse his daughter. I mean, he just kept saying his little child, his child, instead of this is a full-grown, operative in the Democratic Party who's the daughter, and the father may be connected to Letitia James as well, from what I hear now.
Oh, well, that's a typical routine too. Remember Trayvon Martin?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When they every picture they released of him, and I think they did with Michael Williams too. It's like, oh, look at that kid. He's barely a preteen. And it's like, no, that ain't the kid anime.
Right.
Like,
Well, she didn't actually kill anybody, but the point of the matter is that they
Okay,
kept
fair
referring. They kept referring to. They kept referring to her instead of saying daughter. They intentionally said child.
Sure, of course.
Okay. There's not
Don't
so
go
sure.
after my child. But they're doing the exact same thing though. They're victimizing her and turning her into a poor victim by that big bad Trump.
I would like him to violate the gag order sooner than later. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope so.
Now, he might get some money this weekend down in Mar-a-Lago. From what I understand, he may come up with about $50 million in donations. Now, Laura Trump has already raised more money in 1 month than the previous RNC director. Ronna McDaniel raised the entire year. Just Shocking. So you know, and now she's unemployed because MSNBC said we employees run the actual company and we don't want her hired. So they told their bosses, apparently this is the only company in America other than Spotify with the Joe Rogan thing, although the guy backed Joe Rogan eventually. Remember the employees were going to leave about Joe Rogan? Well, NBC buckled because the employees said that they didn't like the McDaniel pick and that she was just a bridge too far. They would like to have other voices, but not hers or anyone who sounds like her, looks like her, speaks like her, who has politics like her. Now, I'm going to tell you a name, show you how hypocritical this was, because they had a guy in the same position named Michael Steele, that black dude for years, who was the head of the RNC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, Spotify's testicular fortitude, let's just say, may have corresponded exactly with their stock price level.
Whoa.
The importance of Joe Rogan and the amount of money that Joe Rogan added to their bottom line really made, defending him much more viable versus a bunch of obnoxious employees who aren't bringing necessarily that much.
Or Joni Mitchell, who recently returned to Spotify quietly.
Or Neil Young, who recently went back to Spotify.
I didn't hear about Neil Young.
He did within the past 2 weeks, yeah.
Oh, he did? I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. All of his libraries back there. And
fascinating.
Oh, yeah. So whatever people want to say, Joe Rogan made him a lot of money.
Those Canadians are crazy. Now, we must acknowledge there was an earthquake in New York today. Talk about man bites dog. I live in the center of the earthquake zone here, but it was kind of fun to see New York shaking. I'm not sure what triggered it, but man, there's a lot of great video out there. Subway trains, a Yankee Stadium taking batting practice with the stadium shaking. I mean, there's some good video of some shaking stuff out there in New York. I've never even heard of this.
Well, my favorite was there was a vasectomy and it was a close call.
There was a close call. Wow. They were splitting they were doing a circumcision in the back of a Lexus, I understand. And a Moyle had to weather the shaking of this 4.8 earthquake while doing a live circumcision in a moving Lexus down 6th Avenue. Unbelievable skill of the Moyle. Unbelievable.
They have skills. They have
a skill set. And they also cut a De Beers diamond in the same vehicle, which was also appropriate.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the judge's daughter is really a sociopath, like this Patrick.
No, I saw this. Everybody knows this chick out here. I don't know who she is, but she is a proud sociopath who has no feelings. She has a child. And has no feelings for her own child, she claims. That's the junior sociopath, Godzilla there. This is a strange story about sociopathology. But I don't know if you saw that woman on the Southwest flight who went crazy out of Vegas yesterday.
I didn't see it. I just saw that. Oh, great. Somebody went crazy. I'm going to be flying to Vegas next week. I don't need to see that.
One of the great videos of all time. She just starts yelling, "All I want is freedom." And then they standing around her are marshals. The whole plane's filming her. And I think it was Southwest or Spirit from Vegas back to here. And she's just going crazy saying, "I just demand freedom." They had to empty the entire plane to get her off in handcuffs smoothly. That's how demonstratively screwed up these plane flights are, because when one person goes crazy, everybody suffers on these planes now. They literally had to get back in the terminal. They had to reboard because of this nutbag.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder what happens to him, because do you remember that one female who, I think her name turned out to be Tiffany Gomez, ultimately, who was like, "They're aliens, and I cannot help but wonder if that was not a bit of a grift because it turns out she is a
that one,
marketing director.
That one was weird.
And everybody was like, oh, she might be weird and screaming, but she's kind of hot. And I'm like,
I don't know. I think the bulk of these, my theory, and I'm generically speaking here, the bulk of these are from cannabis detox. The people who are going crazy are the people who haven't been able to smoke weed since the time they entered the terminal. And I think that is what is the main, and I've heard this, I've overheard this at the airport. They try to get edibles. A lot of people can't get the edibles in time. And a lot of them start getting super duper angry by the time they're on board the plane, Eric. And alcohol is not going to cut it for these people. They're used to smoking weed 24/7. And you could see them, and I've seen them at LAX, massively hitting the pipe outside the terminal right before they go in, trying to make it last. And I think for a lot of people who get up at 5 a.m., get in an Uber, get to the airport, next thing you know, it's another hour and a half later. Now you're on the flight and your weed is wearing off. I think we're seeing a lot of that.
So that's Bill Maher's excuse?
Bill Maher's excuse, and not only is he smoking weed in those, he's talking about the club
random,
the club random thing. He's drinking nonstop from the second the guest, he loses the thread of what the guest is saying when he's mixing these drinks. And most guests don't even accept the drinks. He's drinking tequila on the rocks while he's smoking these giant blunts. So it's both.
Yeah, and I mean, not all the guests are impressed with it. Like I remember Russell Brand being like,
he's another sober guy. That's why.
I know, but it was funny because at the end he was like, "You can't hold off for now.
Yeah,
you can't. What's going on with it?" And it was funny because he said that.
Well, he holds off for his show. I mean, and I remember when I was auditioning as a writer for the show, he came on. This was a Thursday night. He came on so hungover without makeup, I was terrified of what I was experiencing there. Completely angry, savage animal just glaring at me. I was terrified. And then somehow he must get the fog of Mar. That's funny. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I have a good time with you. Maybe he needs the weed. And it's the same with other people. They're just completely angry. Oliver Stone, completely angry when he's smoking weed. He's a teddy bear. I've seen
Mike Tyson on the plane.
Tyson, I've seen him completely sober for years, and then he just went back to weed, and now it's 24/7 weed. I remember when Mike was a completely abstinent person.
Okay, well, I didn't know if that was part of the cause of. Remember that plane incident where?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. A lot of this stuff on planes is because of cannabis inaccessibility.
So everybody tell Jake Paul to make sure that Tyson has plenty of weed before the fight. Well, he might just die.
It was so funny. There was like a group of like 8 people that, mostly they seemed like middle-class black people in their 40s, and they were getting on a flight in back of me. We're going through the checkpoint, and they're just going, I couldn't get the edibles. I tried. What are we going to do? I ain't going to make it. And this is among themselves. And I'm going, oh, dear God, please help these people get through the flight.
Isn't it legal there?
It's not a question of legality. It's a question of access. While they were leaving the city, they were visiting LA and they couldn't get edibles while they were leaving. Who knows? I don't know what happened to them. They might have been partying the night before and used them all, Eric.
Okay, I was gonna say, don't you just buy ahead? I'm confused. I don't know anything. But all right. Well, speaking of making mistakes, not planning ahead, we have somebody who regrets a decision that he made in 2020 and says he won't make it again.
Who?
The Rock.
Oh, The Rock. Yeah, I saw that this morning. Dude, The Rock is embittered with this endorsement he gave of Joe Biden. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. They're ashamed that they endorsed this guy. Now, look, I hope this thing goes on and on and on in the Middle East way through November, because these people are tearing the Democratic Party apart, and they're going to get inside the Democratic Convention in Chicago. They're going to be inside, and they're going to disrupt it. You heard it here first, folks. The pro-Hamas group will be inside the Democratic Convention, and they're going to have their hands full with these people. Because it's going to be like Chicago in '68. This is tearing apart the Democratic Party. He's arming, just so you know, both sides in a war. He's arming Iran and he's arming Israel in the same conflict. This is beyond anything any president has ever done. This is a new standard that may never be achieved again. And he's telling Israel to stand down while arming Iran and arming Israel. I understand Netanyahu is getting closer and closer to Putin, by the way. Putin has allowed him unmolested to go into Syria to get out certain groups out of the that are entrenched in Syria with Putin's blessing. You're going to see an ally flipping, and this started even before this conflict. Israel was moving closer to Russia in a lot of areas economically, and they were also moving closer to Saudi Arabia, which is why the administration had to foment this situation, because this administration is in bed with Iran. And the previous administration was in bed with the Saudis. And it's two factions of Muslim, right, Eric? It's two factions.
Sunnis and Shiite.
Right. There's two different factions here. And Israel couldn't care less because their arch enemy is Iran. And if the Saudis are willing to make a peace deal with them like Egypt did, keep in mind the Egyptian deal has held all of these years, this is held. And if they could make a deal with the Saudis of similar strength, they could undercut Iran's strength in the region.
Well, the Egyptians, I mean, it's easier for the quote Palestinians to get into Israel than it is for them to get into Egypt. Egypt has their locked the F down. So it's kind of like there's not such a brotherhood over there from what I've seen.
Well, the brotherhood is the ones that the Egyptians kicked out, the Muslim Brotherhood. And that's who is the basis of Hamas and the leadership in Gaza for the past 10 or 15 years. Egyptians didn't want any part of them. Remember, that was the uprising in the square. That was all Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. Before Sisi came in and clamped down and kicked them all out. They all then went across the road to Gaza, where they set up a base over there.
Well, this is probably what's helping bring Israel closer to Russia, too. Things like this.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is crazy. I saw Blinken yesterday saying that Ukraine is definitely going to be in NATO. This is the last Hail Mary by the Biden administration to keep hope alive and to keep this war alive through the election. He needs this war to keep going. And as it's running on fumes, they're now throwing the N-word at Russia, the N-word being NATO, of course, which is like a red flag to a bull, because it's a line that will not be allowed to be crossed by Putin. Everybody knows that. Yet this is what the Hail Mary that they're trying to throw up from the Biden administration, which could possibly, more than possibly, lead to World War III.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, just crazy, just absolutely crazy. The fact that they're arming the Ukrainians to the teeth and they won't give Israel a missile at this point is just bizarre. But he's got, there's 1% of the vote in Detroit. In Michigan, 1 to 2% of the vote is a Muslim vote. And he needs that, I think, statistically, to win Michigan in their mind. Because if they don't go to vote, he's going to lose Michigan. And right now he's down by about 8 points to Trump, according to a number of polls in Michigan. And that vote, if they stay home, Eric, it's big trouble for him.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump into things that make me happy, which is super chats and new members like Scott Benbow or Ben Bow. Thank you very much. I think Scott's been a member before and maybe it hasn't for a minute, but I appreciate it. And Sergeant Willie, who also looks very familiar.
Sergeant Willie, come on, Sergeant Willie.
And Sergeant Willie's familiar and gave us a super chat too. Question: is Mark Shepard a credible source on Watergate? I have his first book about Ted Kennedy.
Yeah, he's totally credible. We're going to do something with him pretty soon.
Dare I say he's the most credible source out there? Probably.
Well, this is what the book fund has brought me. by Jeff Shepard, The Nixon Conspiracy, which I'm reading now, along with, I just got this one in. Look at the size of this mother. The Memoirs of Richard Nixon, Eric, right? I'm reading that. And then I got this book, Mark Felt, by Mark Felt, A G-Man's Life. This is, of course, Deep Throat, unless Walter Sheridan is Deep Throat. I got another Nixon book because of the book fund. This is The Real War, and magnificently, the mother of all Nixon books. Look at this one, just came today, Six Crises. Look at that book.
Wow. Is that from when he was VP?
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at that. A little bit before then, he started working on it. And the audio book of listening to him talk about his own life, I learned so much. Okay, I'll just tell you what I learned recently. They went to church on Sunday. His family was so religious, they went to church 4 times a day. 4 times the same day on Sunday, every Sunday, to 4 different services in the same church. His father was Methodist. He became a Quaker. His mother was a Quaker. They read the Bible every day. His mother never told him that she loved him. It was just there. She prayed in a closet because they were so private. He was urged to put God into his speeches. He refused. He felt it was too private. But the best thing I learned this week about Nixon, we're going to get into Nixon obviously more as the show goes on. That's why I'm asking people for these books to help out, which is great. Nixon brought the church service into the White House on Sundays, and he was ridiculed by the media. He had non-denominational services in the White House, and one week would be a rabbi, another week would be a priest, and all the staff would go on Sunday. And he was maligned for this. And he said in the book, his reason was he felt it was completely barbaric and unnecessary and nasty for him to show up at a regular church in DC with tons of Secret Service, tons of media, disrupting normal families' church services. That's why he did it. And I went, holy crap. I mean, the backbone of this guy and the amount of humanness of him is all new to me. I mean, I'm reading this stuff and listening to him read his own stuff. I mean, he explains so much about his life and his worldview in these books. It is astounding. And that's why they had to destroy him, was because he was such a well-rounded, incredible politician and knew the game so well. And they hated him for Alger Hiss. He says in the book, it starts with Alger Hiss, which is one of our episodes, Eric, right? I mean, when he gets Alger Hiss convicted for perjury, he says he's on the House Un-American Activities Committee, and he says that they bring in Alger Hiss, and he lies about knowing a fellow traveler that we did the episode on, and he says we can't get him on whether he's a communist, Alger Hiss, but I think we can get him as a perjurer. And he did it. And they hated him ever since. That's where the Nixon hatred came from. Alger Hiss was such a liar. He was like the model of the progressive left liars. You know what I mean? This is a guy who lied with impunity. And Nixon saw through the lies. And he said, let's get him on perjury. We're never going to get him as a communist.
Which is actually perfect, because somebody like that, like, dare I say, like a Newsom type, you know that they're compulsive liars. Like it's impossible for them to make it through the day without lying about something. So their own nature, it's like the scorpion and the frog, right?
Right.
You know, that they're the scorpion, and that's what they're going to do. So it's brilliant to say, yeah, just get them on that, because there's no way they can avoid it.
I mean, Whittaker Chambers. Okay, so when Whittaker Chambers testifies, I'll just wrap this up. But when Whittaker Chambers testifies before the House Un-American Activities Committee, they had run this committee, according to Nixon, very shoddily, and they had railroaded a bunch of people, and the committee had a bad reputation to begin with. So when Whittaker Chambers was denounced by Alger Hiss as being a liar, the media believed it because others had been maligned as well, and they had been correct. So Alger Hiss came in and said, I have never met Whittaker Chambers in my life. And that's what Nixon knew was a lie. And it stood out like a sore thumb. And he said, let's find out if this guy knows Whitaker Chambers ever met him. And they went to work. And of course, they caught Alger Hiss in that lie. And that was the perjury beef that he went to jail about. And they never forgave Nixon. And Alger Hiss was a commie, dirty, filthy, document-stealing, Stalin-loving rat. And they couldn't get him on all that because there was too many barriers to do that. But he got him on the perjury beef.
And doesn't it make you sad, though, that they hate him for proving somebody is a liar rather than, one of the criticisms I have, obviously the right has some very deplorable people, just like the left has deplorable people. But in general, the right disavows their deplorable people, whereas the left protects them.
Yeah,
and it's a big difference.
Yeah. Somebody smarter than me once said that there is no extreme left. There's no end to it. There's no. Where does it end? It just goes on and on and on. There is no end to the extreme left. It's now become so far left that it's communist. Which is what it was in the 50s, and that's why they started to out these guys.
Yeah, no, I agree, and to me that is one of the big differences, and it's a huge core difference.
Yeah.
Let me see. Kim Opperman, Mark and Eric, my two favorite Patriots. R.I.P. John Sinclair.
Oh, really? Kim, thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
And we met Kim in Youngstown.
Right.
Let's see. Hold it away for the camera so we can. There you go. Okay, Watergate Comedy Hour. Wow. That is awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's Burns and Schreiber, by the way, the comedy duo who did that album. Lampoon did their own Watergate tapes, which we'll get into once we get into that. But this was a different offbeat album by Burns and Schreiber, comedy duo.
All right. BTK said LGBTQ plus invisibility and cancellation day. I like that one. Except that would be visible. Dick Dickerson coming in with more memberships. 10 new members because of Dick. Thank you. Dick is an amazing.
Let me tell you something. That is one big dick.
And her son. Pasha, a mole? Are you talking about me again?
Yeah, I have to stick with my original belief that Pasha is a secret mole.
PD, did you see the recent Steve-O interview? Yep. We actually played the clip of that earlier. Thank you very much, PD.
Yeah. Yeah, the audience had the temerity to laugh at my jokes when I was on Bill Maher, and he did not like that. He did not like that.
And he's a frustrating individual because some of his interviews are good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He is a talented person. I'm not going to say. And I think that's why it's irritating, is because it's like you have so much to offer, and one week you're actually useful, the next week you're annoying, and it just it makes my head hurt.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the drugs and alcohol are taking a long-term effect on him at this point, because he's forgetting stuff. He doesn't know certain stories that everyone else does. There's huge gray areas and gray outs or blackouts that he has in his thinking that are indicative of someone who's been using for 40 to 50 years.
Well, they're weird ones too. Like Oliver Stone was like, "You've never heard of that?" And,
yeah, I know. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it to him now. Yeah, it's not just Oliver. There were things that Bill Maher did not ever hear about.
And you're going, "What? WEF?" That was one. I think.
Never heard of WEF.
Like, what?
Yeah, there were some weird ones. And he wasn't kidding. I mean, he's got blackouts going on.
Yeah, Jonathan G94, Devo was uninvited. Yeah, we covered that, and thank you very much. Trey Ellswick, everything I want to ask you will get you demonetized, so I will just say you're awesome.
Well, not as awesome as this robbery crew that took down a holdings building where they keep all the cash in Southern California. It's out in Silmar. On Easter Sunday, they went into this building, and this is right out of Heat, the level of professionalism of this crew that went into this building from the roof with, this is the building here. It's the largest cash heist ever, $30 million in unrecorded bills, cash bills Oh, yeah. Unrecorded serial numbers. These guys had inside help, no clues, left nothing behind, somehow got out on Easter Sunday out here with the largest cash heist in LA history, $30 million out of the vault. They got into the vault, got through the building, security, no alarms, nothing. I mean, we'll see if they catch them, but I think they're long gone.
Oh, it's brilliant too. I mean, it's funny how the smart ones go for something like that, where it's like, no, they're not going for some secret vault where there's money or whatever. They know, oh, this is easy picking money that everybody doesn't think about.
They had inside surveillance on this thing. It was one of the most secure buildings in Southern California because it holds the cash for all the businesses in Southern California for the banks. And they hit this thing on Easter. When they opened up the vault on Monday, it was all gone. They almost had a heart attack, and nobody was notified. I mean, no alarms were triggered, which means they had the codes, which means somebody was on the inside. We'll see what happens with this story. We'll see.
Well, when it's enough of an inside job, unless they have balls of steel, which they might. They might. Actually, when we were in Vegas, there was a similar story to that. Remember, it wasn't that, but it was the armed, the Brinks armed.
Yeah. They never found those guys either. They got away with it. Never found them. $18 million out of a truck.
Crazy. David March says he has a copy of Nixon's Beyond Peace for you. Do you need that one?
Well, if I see you, I mean, don't.
We could ship it to the box if we need. But if it's hard to get.
Well, when it comes to the next meetup in wherever we're going to meet up, he could bring it with him.
Well, there may be something going on in West Palm Beach next month. Do we want to tease that at all?
Yeah, you can tease it. Who cares? These people need to make plans, Eric. We can't just hold them hostage for your secret society.
My secret society.
Your secret society. I was going there anyway.
Anyway. Yes, in West Palm Beach, we are looking at doing a meetup on the 18th of May, I believe, would be the day.
Yeah.
And
the night of the 18th.
Oh, the evening. Sorry. Yes, it'll be 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. I think we've got the venue locked down, and we have a very special guest.
Yeah, which I guess we'll reveal later or something. I don't know. What, we don't reveal the guest, or what do we do?
I'll probably reveal the guest with the posting, but I think people will be surprised and be very happy to see who it is.
It's going to be an award for this guest. We're not going to name him, but it's going to be a Friend of America's Untold Stories Award. One of the biggest friends of the channel is getting an award, like a Lifetime Achievement Award. So it's going to be part award ceremony. The guest will be there to meet you as well as us. So the guest will get to kibitz with you, put it that way. And then there'll be the dinner and VIP treatment for everyone who comes there, which is going to be great. And this is pretty close to Mar-a-Lago. We're not in Mar-a-Lago, but we're nearby.
And it's the first ever that we've given out the friend of. It's kind of like our Hall of Fame, like, people that are in our Hall of Fame for being just good friends, always there,
Johnny
really
United.
helping us on the way.
Sandy Koufax.
those people.
Pete Rose is never getting in the America's Untold Story. Oh, I could just give another update on Ohtani, the Dodger Ohtani drama. He was having a tough time, Eric, hitting, because obviously the pressure of arresting or possibly pre-arresting his interpreter has led to Ohtani on the Dodgers not having a interpreter. So he is feeling isolated, and he finally 2 nights ago did this. Here is Ohtani hitting his first home run as a Dodger. It was a massive blast. It went, I believe, to, I want to say, left center, and he really crushed this ball against the Giants, which always adds injury to the Giants. So this girl who caught it was a long-term fan. She was there with her husband, a veteran fan of the Dodgers. She got the ball, and she was immediately separated by security guards from her husband, brought into a secret room and browbeaten and intimidated into giving up the ball. No. This is the story. Otani wanted the ball. They surrounded her. They browbeat her into accepting a signed bat and a signed hat from Otani. And she couldn't talk to her husband. And she was forced to go back to be with her husband afterwards. And she got home, this poor woman, and she realized she was contacted by The Athletic and Sports Illustrated and other outlets, and was told by them that ball, as Otani's first LA homer, was worth roughly $100,000 in cash. And she was told by the security team that you'll never be able to authenticate it. It'll be your word against ours. You will never authenticate that ball unless we get the ball from you and give you a signed hat instead, or a signed bat. So, because she was saying, I want to keep the ball. And they said, how are you going to authenticate it? She goes, well, I just caught it. It's on TV.
Yeah, there's film. I've got the chain of custody.
No. Well, this is what they told her, Eric. And she apparently was given a signed hat and a signed bat, and told to go on her way and shut up. And she's not shutting up.
Okay, well, I have a word for your illustrious player and his friends. Pieces of shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, that goes without saying. But it's usually the management of it and not the players themselves. I mean, Otani had nothing to do with this. It's not him. I mean, this was a security team that captured her behind enemy lines and then took her away and browbeat her.
Wow. I hope they get humiliated.
It's really dark, bro. It's really dark. Bad karma. Very bad karma.
There you go. America's pastime.
Yeah.
Browbeating women.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well,
Pete Rose had a famous line. He's like I said last week, he said, if I had an interpreter, I wouldn't have gotten into the trouble I got into.
Mm-hmm. which is classic.
Classic line.
All right. Well, let's get back to another story that we keep covering that never, ever is going to end, it appears.
What?
We got a series of squatter stories. So first we have this one.
Yeah.
You've got that house in New York, the $930,000 New York City mansion or whatever, that these squatters are claiming. What they are using to make this claim is a receipt from Shake Shack.
Yeah.
I can't, so $1 million house is hinged on a $25 Shake Shack receipt.
Wow. Is this the house they burned down yesterday? There's one they burned down.
This is on Lakewood Avenue in Jamaica, New York. I don't know.
There's one that they burned to the ground. I sent you a little video. It's still on fire. They filmed it late today. There was a guy in there, a Chinese guy, said he was smoking. He lit a bunch of candles, went downstairs to take a shower, turned on the oven, and lo and behold, there it is. When he came back, the entire house, $900,000 home, was on fire, and the squatters did it. By accident.
This is Brooklyn. That other was Jamaica Plains. That's not the same, right?
No, Jamaica Plains, Queens.
Okay, well, I don't. That's why I'm asking. I literally don't know New York. So, okay, well, so there you go.
I don't know this New York, to be honest with you. This is just crazy.
Oh, man. And then, okay, so yeah, that's our second squatting story. And then we go into our third squatting story, which is a serial squatter refusing to leave a $2 million Seattle home, escaping eviction for the third time after a nonprofit coughs up
this is great.
$50,000. So,
right. Again, this is an incredible story because it combines the two things that I was thematically linking, the NGO with the squatters. This is a direct link between a guy who's an Asian serial squatter up in Seattle, and his rent every time they go to court is being paid by an NGO for another $50,000. The NGO, every time he's about to be evicted court-wise, treats him as if he's a legit tenant and has paid all of their budget for the entire year. The NGO has paid every cent they have to keep this mutt with the gray hair inside of this building. And the guy on the right, the Sikh, obviously owns a bunch of 7-Elevens, can't get into his own house because this NGO keeps paying for this guy to stay here. One of the but it shows you the link the importance of that story shows you the link between these nonprofit leftist NGOs and the squatters. And that's why this story is of major importance.
It's so mind-blowing, though, because now we're getting into sexuality problems, or intersectionality, sorry, because you have a sheik who's a minority himself, and it's like, wait a minute, I thought you cared about minorities having homeowners. It's like, what is it? Select the correct minority? Like,
no, this is not a minority issue. This is a class issue. This is about landlords are the most despised part of the Marxist pie. Anything, regardless of race, they don't care what the race is of a landlord. That trumps everything. Being a landlord is considered to be the oppressor, and this NGO will pay off any oppressor to keep a tenant inside of a residence, even if it's completely illegal in terms of squatting. It's an astounding combination of groups working together, Eric. But you're right. The irony is the Sikh is a minority, but that doesn't come into play in these particular different intersectionality economic stories, such as this residence thing.
Because, well, it's obvious because everything's a lie. Everything is a lie.
Well, it comes apart when the intersectionality doesn't hold up. The story, the intersectionality itself as a political model collapses because it doesn't cover everything on the earth.
Yeah. I mean, eventually it's like musical chairs.
Yeah.
Eventually, Keith Gardick said RJN's published work on U.S. foreign politics, past administrations are incredibly insightful, particularly on Russia
and China, both. I mean, he's talking in these books, the one I'm listening to and reading right now, he's talking to Gorbachev as if Gorbachev is going to be the leader of the Soviet Union for decades to come. Fascinating what happens that he's not aware of because he dies. But in some of his last books, he's dealing with Gorbachev all the time. And this is after he's out of office. This is him. Yeah. Fascinating.
Well, he advised everybody.
Yeah.
Quietly, they all got advice from Nixon on the side.
Well, there's a chapter in his book where he just talks about the alcoholism of every world leader.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Really interesting.
All right. Well,
from Chou En-lai to Mao to everybody, Gorbachev, Brezhnev rather. I mean, it's really interesting his take on their use of alcohol.
Okay. Bob Tranquilli gave 5 more America's Untold Stories memberships.
I saw your 5 and I raised your 5.
All right.
Take that.
Blitzen did do that. He saw
Blitzen,
that.
double Blitzen and Donner, double down.
That's right.
Go Donner and Blitzen.
One thing, when people are a member for a while, they get a highlighted, chat every once in a while. Jim Satala saying you guys should do the Boca Black Box for a meetup. I don't know what
Boca is that a place or what is that?
I don't know what it is, but interesting. And then
we got a place. Yeah.
BTK said, Posh and I are owed vacuums. No vacuums, no peace.
That's funny. Tell him what he's won, Bob. You've won a Cheflet Lewitt vacuum cleaner with all the attachments that go with it. Come on down.
But you're never going to see it.
No.
Somebody actually sent us in an eBay picture of a Cheflet Lewitt or whatever vacuum. Which
is there one? I never got. There must have been one because they kept putting it on like on the game shows.
Yeah, it was the same one. They kept getting returned. No.
Yeah.
Long story. Somebody mentioned Kirby. I actually sold Kirby's door to door in a hard period of my life. That is a rough gig. If you ever want to have something you don't want to do, go knock on doors and try to sell vacuum cleaners.
I think it was a Three Stooges episode where that was one of them is selling vacuum cleaners door to door, and it might have been Evan Costello, it was one of the other, but he goes in and he's like really pushy, Eric, and it's a house like in the middle of Nevada somewhere, and he goes in and he throws dirt all over the floor and he's like messing up everything. He's going, don't worry, this is the greatest vacuum cleaner of all time. He's throwing more cow crap on the floor and grass and dirt all over her living room floor, and he goes, the Cheflet Lewitt vacuum cleaner is going to scoop up all of this. You're never going to believe it. And she's standing there, the housewife, with her arms folded. And he goes, where do I plug it in? She says, I have no electricity.
Oh wow.
It's a great sketch. Great sketch.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, that was part of the Kirby shtick. It wasn't to do that. Literally, to get in the door was, I will shampoo a rug for free
Right.
of one
Okay.
room.
Yeah.
I shampooed so many damn
You
rooms
did?
with no sales. No,
Oh
dude,
my God.
it was brutal. And you're like,
Yeah.
just hoping you can get one.
Hey,
It is
don't
a
tell me.
hard.
I had Grobert's Gorgeous Gutters of Grand Gorge, my own gutter and leader business, and there were things that went bad with that job too.
I believe it.
Yeah.
That was like
Try
your
putting
Rodney
up
Dangerfield.
gutters. Try putting up gutters and leaders when there's already snow on the roof. Good luck with that.
Yeah, somebody said, hey, I bet Hunley was at least well liked. Yes, they got a free shampooing of their carpet.
That's how he lost his hair. The stress of that job was incredible.
Oh, dude, it was bad.
Yeah.
But you know what is going to take away my stress though? We're going to be following Oswald over to Locals. And
interesting move. Nice segue, Hunley.
I think so. And I wanted
everybody liked that Johnny Carson thing, by the way, you put up.
Oh, good. I mean, it's a nice find. Thank you very much, Pamela, for that. And while we're here, we could talk about.
Let me find my bell. That's a good point. Yeah. What do you have, Hunley?
Well, you could subscribe here, but everybody, you can come to our Locals and become a member for free and join, as of now, 17,000 other people.
What? What are you talking about?
We have 17,000 members on Locals. A lot of great company. And
what's the best way how do you get there?
Just go to unstructured.locals.com. You can actually click a link in the description. It'll take you right to this episode that is playing at the same time as you're watching it here. There are folks on Locals watching it. 252 people are currently watching us right now on Locals.
Wow.
And we will be headed over there to answer any tips that are there and some other questions and just hang out a little bit more. Also, the beauty of Locals, at the beginning, I said, hey, this copyrighted thing may go away. It's going to be there on Locals, and there are no ads. So if you want to watch some of our back catalog, it's all up on Locals, and there's no ads. I'm not, hiding the ball or anything else. You just go watch it.
Nice sales pitch. I like this. This is better than the vacuum cleaner.
Oh, there you go. It's taken me 35 years.
Hold on. I just want to make this one sound. And there it is. There's the subscription bell. The 3 horses on the inside rail. Here goes Anka. I can feel people subscribing at this point. I could feel them pushing the button.
I have every bit of faith that they absolutely are. But
108,000, 109,000.
Yeah, it's 109,000 now. We're heading in hard. We're going to get to 110.
Right.
Get to 110. Man, we get to triple aces. 111, folks. Let's get triple aces.
111,000 would be a good number.
I think so. It kind of gets you into the next decade number. I hope it doesn't take till the next decade to get there. But
it took us a while to get here. It took a couple of years.
It definitely has.
It's not a bad growth pattern. I mean, we got to 100 like in 2 years. Is that normal?
No, it's very fast.
Oh, it's very fast. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it takes many shows 5 years to get to 10,000. So I'm not gonna.
Oh my God! No,
anyway, yeah.
Oh my God!
But
I'll shut my mouth.
Don't shut your mouth. We're still gonna gripe. Keep subscribing.
Holy crap! I just want to say, LBJ musical portrait. This is the CD of the week, and the Righteous Gemstones with John Goodman and Danny McBride. Absolutely wonderful. It's like Tammy Faye Baker and her husband in a comedy, if that makes any sense, and a family of them all together. It's really getting good. I haven't gotten that deep into it, but it looks great.
Movie of the week?
Movie of the week would be, did I say that documentary about the Chinese takeover of Hollywood? Was that last week?
You said that last week.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a movie of the week that I saw this week. Well, the reason I put up that 20 to Life documentary is I wanted that to be the movie of the week, the one with John Sinclair, because everybody's in there from John Lennon on down the line. So it's a great little piece of Americana and a good tribute to John Sinclair.
All right, so there you have it, folks. I hope you follow us over, and we'll keep hanging out for a little while.
All right, let's go over there. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and I'll meet you back here in a second.
All right, sounds good.
All right, goodbye.